Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
The Supreme Court and American constitutional law has long held that not everybody who is born on American soil is in fact an American citizen. For instance, the children of diplomats, Native American children, to tribes who still have tribal relations, the children of an invading army, of course, would not be considered and never have been considered American citizens. And I think that logic applies here whenever you have somebody who crossed the border illegally, is not subject to the laws of the United States, and that's a key term here. Remember, the 14th Amendment says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And that means that not only are you subject to our laws, but you have complete and total allegiance to the United States, which of course does not apply to illegal aliens or their children.
I guess the response from the court was, yeah, nice try. I listened to the oral arguments this morning, and if you look at all the news reporting, court did not seem convinced by the arguments of the Solicitor General of the United States. We'll have more on that. Also, my friends, it has been announced that there is a deal to end the government shutdown. The way it's being reported in some circles is they just signed a deal that the Trump and the Republicans dismissed. No, that's not all that's happening. There's also reconciliation that's a part of this, and so it looks like we may finally have a deal. All of that said, and those things are important and very important, but there's a story that is even more important than anything else in the news right now because of the tragic nature of it. James Flippin is here, Red Apple Audio Network news director. And James Flippin, tell us about what happened in Brooklyn this afternoon. It is just truly horrific.
Awful stuff, Bo. A 7-month-old child, a little girl, shot and killed by a stray bullet while in her stroller. Mom was pushing the little baby at Humboldt and Moore Streets around 1 o'clock this afternoon. That's in East Williamsburg, section of Brooklyn. And the shots were fired somewhere nearby. People ran for cover. Mom fled to a nearby convenience store, a bodega, did see that her child was injured, rushed to the hospital. That's where the little girl was pronounced dead. And now cops are looking for 2 males. They fled the scene on a moped. A surveillance camera image shows one of those assailants in a black or dark-colored hoodie, aiming the gun over his shoulder and firing, and at least one of those rounds did strike this little baby who was dead. And authorities say they tracked a scooter to a nearby location where another crime scene has been set up. Mayor Mamdani was at a separate event talking about something where reporters asked him, and he will actually provide an update with the police department at a later time, but he said this about that event.
It is a tragedy that this baby was shot and killed. And soon after this press conference, I will be joining our police commissioner to brief the media and the public on this. Our heart breaks for this family.
So there you have it, Bo. There will be additional information to come from the police department, from the mayor's office, but at this point it looks like at least 2 potential suspects are being looked for.
Yeah, you can find that image now. It's starting to spread across the news media. I happen to see the image of both of them through a UK publication. I understand other publications have it. It looks like one of them should be almost able to be identifiable. He has on a little mask over his mouth, but the rest of the person, his features can be seen, and what they're wearing can be seen. Somebody knows who these people are. Somebody knows, especially the one that was driving this moped, somebody knows who he is. There's enough there that somebody can identify him. There's the second one obviously can be tracked down. I know, and I guess that law enforcement is working diligently to try to cross the DNA, see whatever else they can find from this motorbike that was recovered, that was ditched shortly thereafter. This is just unbelievable tragedy. The father also was there. There's one news report that says the father brought the baby in screaming, "Save my baby." The mother was also screaming at the top of their lungs. Nobody could save their baby. Mm. This happened 1:25 in the afternoon. It is just ridiculously awful.
Yep, very much so, Bo. And as we were talking about it at the top of the show at the local side, we'll see if things come out about these suspects as to whether or not they had a criminal history or some sort of known gang affiliation. A lot of the times, sadly, when these stray bullet shootings happen, it's in regard to some set beefing over who can sell drugs where or who can move girls where or whatever it may be. And then, a little baby, not even a year old, shot dead.
7 months old. And I got news to you. It doesn't just happen in New York City. Thank you so much, James Flippin.
You got it, Bo.
We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, also in Charlotte, Jonas Cut 15. In Charlotte, there was a man that was released on $1,000 of unsecured bond. The story will speak for itself. Charlotte, North Carolina. This is what took place there.
This doorbell video shows the moment she's describing. You can hear the engine revving, then the car speed up significantly. We've stopped it before it hits Naomi.
The other two kids got out the street. Naomi wasn't quick enough through her little legs. She had eyes on her. She was not unattended. She did not run out in front of no car. That car just like she hit her like she was an animal and kept going until he probably got a phone call to say he hit that baby.
Another neighbor didn't want to go on camera, but says she saw the whole thing from somewhere in the video you're watching now.
Then you gunned it down the street. You were on the wrong side. This baby play out here every day, all day. You on the wrong side. You came over this side, hit the baby. You didn't stop. You kept going. You didn't remain on scene. They had to call you to tell you to come back. It hurts because that's a child. She was only 8 years old. She didn't have to lose her life because of a reckless driver. That could have been my niece. That could have been my little cousin. That could have been anybody.
Now, police say the driver of that Chrysler 300 was 23-year-old Khalil Burney. He is now charged with driving while license revoked, no liability insurance, failure to register, and fictitious registration. In court today, a judge gave him a $1,000 unsecured bond.
Killed an 8-year-old girl, drove into her, shows up at court. Another one of these liberal judges. Okay. You killed an 8-year-old. Here, I just post $1,000 unsecured bond. Just go ahead, go home. Go home. Go do whatever you do. Folks, something is very wrong in this country. We put up with school shootings. We don't put up with them. People do them. I don't think anybody says, yeah, let's put up with them. You have school shootings. We had another one earlier this week. You have incidents like this. You have incidents with this 7-month-old in New York City. 7-month-old. A mother is taking a 7-month-old child for a walk in the weather. And now the mother and father have to come home alone. Their child, 7-month-old baby, is dead. Because two individuals decide that they want to do something. When I saw the picture of it, the little picture, it's like you think you're looking at a still clip from a movie with one guy on a moped firing from over his shoulders, looking like this is madness. What is taking place in too many instances across this country is utter madness. The court systems refuse, for some reason, to hold these criminals accountable, to recognize the gravity of the situation. I don't know how any judge in their right mind can listen to the evidence that took place in the case in Charlotte this week, North Carolina, where you have a guy recklessly run over an 8-year-old girl. He doesn't have a license. He's got a false registration. He doesn't have a real registration. And just say, okay, go home. Here's $1,000. And you see these cases with these district attorneys, many of them, I'm sorry to go political, but it is political. Many of them elected due to an ideological agenda that says in America we punish criminals too harshly. And so you have these district attorneys who wantonly side with criminals. You have judges who release criminals back into the public mainstream. And then you have incidents like this horror story that has emerged in New York City this afternoon. It leaves you speechless because there is no rhyme or reason for the lack of empathy, for the lack of sympathy, or for the lack of just doing the right thing by making sure that the people that are responsible for these acts are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. It is inexcusable. And if you want to know why there are so many, why do we have this sort of, I guess, bifurcation in American society where it seems half of the country is looking at the other half of the country and asking, are you crazy? This is why. Because for many of us that look at this, you must be crazy to let these things continue to happen and not realize that there has to be a legal and a political action to stop this. There has to be the political and legal will to stop this from occurring in society. And apparently one half of our country doesn't see the need to do that. And the rest of us look at these people and just ask, are you crazy? What will it take to get you to join us in demanding that we stop this? Stop it. It's James Golden, Snerdley. We'll have more on the deals that took place. We've got a space flight to the moon, around the moon, over the moon, coming tonight. 1989. And boy, do we need it now. Madonna was at number one across the pond with this one, Like a Prayer. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Fastest hour in American media. Do not go away.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Yeah, as soon as it opens, you know what it is. It's so hard to believe. This was 26 years ago. 26 years ago. Santana was number one across the pond on the album charts there with the album Supernatural. It went on to win 8 Grammy Awards here in the States, including Album of the Year, Record of the Year for Smooth. Yeah. And Song of the Year. "26 years ago. My favorite song on the entire album, and I love this album, my favorite song is this one. Primavera. And there's just, I just love it. I love the lyrics. They're in Spanish, of course. I love the liberty, the mountains, all of it. I love the background. Ha! And he plays one of the most incredible guitar solos as Carlos Santana can do. All right, I love it. Thank you, Carlos Santana. So Donald Trump attended in person the Supreme Court hearings today on birthright citizenship. He telegraphed he was going to do it. And you would think that, anyway, cut one from The View this morning.
And we just have to get to this because this is unbelievable what's going on. You know who is he's at the Supreme Court as we speak, making his case for signing an executive order that ends birthright citizenship in America.
He was not making his case. The Solicitor General for the United States made the case. He was there observing. And yes, it's the first time a president observed. This is unbelievable. He was sitting in the audience. Of course, it didn't end there on this show. We don't have time. I'm looking at the clock. We don't have time, but we'll get to it because they had some comedian woman on the show. You wait till you hear her. I know most of you don't watch it. I don't either. I see the clips. And that's the only way I know what went on there. I would not purposely, on purpose, sit down, find the channel that it's on, use the effort to click the remote to the on position. That would be too much effort for this particular broadcast. But I do see the clips. James Golden, Bo Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. Yes, we do have a deal to reopen the government, the part that has been closed. And Democrats did not win. They got nothing. They got nothing. That is not the headline you will see because the mainstream press wants to give them cover. They failed. They got nothing. We'll be back.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
All right, I'm doing this from memory, so you got to bear with me. Today's the heavenly birthday of Jeff Porcaro, one of the three Porcaro brothers. There was Jeff Porcaro, Steve Porcaro, and Mike Porcaro. Jeff, drummer, Mike, the bass player, and the keyboard, Steve. The Porcaro brothers, Toto, of course, and they have other players in Toto, and I don't want to diminish their contributions, but the Porcaros were amazing. And so I was telling Jonas that this Georgie Porgy broke first. And it broke in black radio because everybody swore when Toto first came out there was a black group. Cheryl Lynn is singing on that. And then, of course, this slammed. It's like, this is Toto? This is Toto. And man, this song, I used to binge on this song. I used to play this song over and over again. And then, later on, we got a different kind of sound from Toto. As the group continued to mature and just become such a great group. So remembering The Picaros today. Jeff Picaro passed away after spraying insecticide around the yard of his home, and later that night he passed away. He was so young. And there's been a lot of controversy about that too. But anyway, born in 1954, the amazing Jeff Picaro, the three Picaro brothers of Toto. Steve is still with us, thank the Lord. And another heavenly birthday. Yesterday we had a reference to the death of O'Kelly Isley. Today, a heavenly birthday for one of the other brothers, the other brother, Rudolph Isley, of the Isley brothers. And from the time in the 1959, they came out with Shout. And then Twist and Shout. And then, of course, they did the, so many hits. This Old Heart of Mine. And, of course, Summer Breeze, Harvest for the World. Who's That Lady? When the younger three joined. These are some great groups. Family groups here. Family group break. The Picaros, the Isleys, with James Golden. Rudolph passed away, 84 years old, in October 2023. Ronald Isley is still with us, by the way. James Golden, Snerdley. Okay, for a minute, I promise this, let's get it out of the way. You heard Whoopi yapping. Yap, 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 yap. This is unbelievable. The president of the Supreme Court arguing his case. He wasn't arguing his case. He was a spectator. This is unbelievable. He was sitting down in the audience. This is unbelievable. They also had a comedian on the show. Her name is Whitney Cummings. And cut to, this was from the discussion following the, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. So my question is, why are you there? I think this is all to add to chaos because he wrote that executive order. Everybody pushed back on it, said you can't do that. That will dismantle so much other stuff. So is it just to keep the chaos going, to keep us from talking about the Epstein files?
I was going to say,
the Epstein files, the Epstein files.
Child slaves. I was like, is he talking about the Epstein files, which he's mentioned in over 500,000 of them, and there's still 2 million that need to come out. Also, he's going to a hearing, Epstein hearing. He's going to have to, show up at that one. Look, to me, the first thing that I thought is instead of focusing on these, children that might be born in America, how about the children who are already born here that you're sending to a senseless war? Let's maybe spend some time and energy on that. Also, I was just in London. My brother lives there, and my nieces and nephew. And every time I got in a cab, the cab drivers went, "Can you tell your friends in America to stop coming over here pregnant and having babies here, because it is officially cheaper to fly to London, give birth in a hospital there, and then fly back than it is to give birth in America. So how about focus on making it so that women can give birth here and not go broke?" I didn't know that.
Okay, do you believe that let me just ask, do you believe it? Do you believe, I've been to London a few times. No cab driver has ever asked me about pregnant women from America coming over to give birth in London's hospitals. And it's not cheaper depending on how you travel, London is not a cheap place. Now, yeah, they have their government health care thing, but and that's, by the way, going broke, in case anyone doesn't know, it's broke. But do you honestly believe that every time she gets in a cab in London, they look at her and say, "Oh, you're an American. Would you please tell your pregnant women to stop coming here?" Do you believe that? Do you believe that that's on the top of mind of London cab drivers picking up an American in London? How do we verify that story? not. And then she went on. Folks, this is the caliber of guest that you have apparently on The View. Cut 3. This is the same comedian, Miss Cummings.
I'm glad this is out. Because I think it's time for men to see what women have always known, which is that men hate us, and men need to get pissed off about this. Get your boy. Like, this is your guys' problem also. And, and it's not just young men. I think there's a lot of ways that, it's more insidious when men get older and still hate women in different ways, whether it's doctors and psychiatrists who are finding new ways to dismiss our symptoms, to call us crazy. Every time I go in to just talk about my feelings, I got diagnosed with ADD and OCD, and I don't have either. You're boring, and I'm busy. I don't need to go on a medication because I have stuff to do.
Don't say it. Hold on.
They need to get off of talk radio.
We're coming right back because we're going to finish talking about this.
Okay, so we hear from Joy Behar, who was on talk radio, and I know because I worked with her, and I've never said any stories out of school, and I won't. But boy, oh boy, I could. But this woman claims my only question is this. Are there no executives at ABC that look at this thing and feel embarrassed that this is what they offer up? Look, I know the show is successful. I know it's making money, and that's what counts. But I just want to know deep down when the executives, I guess we'll never know, when they look at what they are airing, I wonder if they feel a sense of embarrassment at all that this is what they're presenting to America. This is it. Okay. Let's quickly turn to the files. Release the files. Cut 7. Wait, before I do that, Jonas, Carlos, by the way, has a day off. Jonas, if I were to quickly say to you, we're going to talk about releasing the files today. What would you think I would be talking about? Just right at the top of your head.
I mean, the Epstein files, of course.
The Epstein files, of course. Guess what? No. No, we're not talking about the Epstein files. Play cut 7. Here you go.
So we expect more will come, other nonsense from the administration, but we don't trust them one bit, and it's also absurd, just absolutely absurd. As somebody who was on the Intelligence Committee, oversaw the CIA for 8 years, that they're so out to interfere in the California gubernatorial race where we're leading, that they would work with the Chinese. I mean, it's just absurd and probably the worst abuse that we've seen since the J. Edgar Hoover days.
I mean, which is obviously a significant statement, as you say, given your background of what you oversaw, in multiple roles.
Yeah, they threw him off the Intelligence Committee. Jonas, what we're talking about here are not the Epstein files, it's the Fang files. Kash Patel and the FBI, they're saying there are hints that they might release the Fang files. And all of a sudden, he had his warriors sent out a cease and desist order. You can't do that. You can't do that. He's all over television. Number one, he should be glad. Because if they release the Fang files, it's not going to put him in any trouble with the voters in California. Come on. We're talking about California voters here. These are the people that elected Newsom. These are the people that elected Schiff. These are the people that elected Swalwell. What are they going to do? Is that going to hurt him? So he had, he was cutting it with a alleged Chinese spy. So what? It's California. It'll probably help him. But now, all of a sudden, the Democrats, don't release the files. Don't release the files. When it's the Fang files. I'm going to play something else. I got to play this one today. Not the first time I played it. Look, we have a deal. Government's going to reopen. Let me explain that deal real quick. I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to do this in about a minute if I can. Senate and House Republicans announced an agreement Wednesday to move ahead as early as Thursday morning with legislation to reopen the Department of Homeland Security, resurrecting a bipartisan deal that President Trump and the House GOP angrily rejected last week. And the headline of this, I think this is either the Times or WAPO's version. Senate and House Republicans revived a deal that Trump and the GOP rejected last week. There's an important caveat here. And they have in the article, a senior White House official said Trump, who blasted the funding deal as inappropriate last week, would sign it. The agreement represents a sharp turnaround by him and House Republicans. Blah, blah, blah. Here's what you're missing in all of this. And here's what they should have put in the opening instead of trying to make this a win for Democrats. What they should have put in was the other story regarding this. Is that Donald Trump and the Republicans have agreed a two-track measure. They're going to sign this thing, and then they're going to put the funding for ICE in a reconciliation bill that only takes 51 Republicans. It only takes 51 to pass. So with 50 Republicans, if they need J.D. Vance, they can pass the continued funding for ICE. That's the new development, which is why they said, okay, fine, we'll do it this way. But up until now, Republicans didn't go along with this idea of doing it in reconciliation. Now they have. So now we have a deal. And the Democrats get nothing. They're not getting any reforms to ICE, which is why they shut the government down. In other words, Democrats lose on this. 100% unambiguous. They shut the government down for nothing for over 40 days because they lose. And that's the way this should be reported. Now, very quickly before we go to a break. Cut number 14. I want to say something about this guy. It is a question coming from a reporter to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Cut 14.
A lot of black and brown people are really not that into you. I don't know if you've seen the comments, like you somehow own these people. They're not really that into you.
What's your question?
Just so you know. You mentioned your family, so I think it's fair. If somebody in your family was raped, robbed, or murdered by an illegal alien, would you rethink your policy of giving tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to illegal aliens? Or would you rethink your policy of not turning over violent repeat offenders to ICE? Would you rethink
Thanks,
your
William.
policy of...
We'll move on here.
I think I understand your question. I think you want to know...
William, we got it. Thank you.
I think you want to know like how I engage with this on a very personal, intimate level. I understand your question. And anyone that is harmed by anyone, any act of violence, we have to hold those individuals accountable, regardless of their status. I know of people who have been harmed in the way in which you described by individuals that have documentation. It doesn't make the tragedy less because they're documented. Do you understand? And so what I'm saying is that we have to ensure...
William, please be quiet. Thanks.
William, if you're interested in a response, if you're going to interrupt me, then that's not a fair exchange. Okay? So thank you. So again, we have to make sure that we're doing, as government, everything in our power to protect people, period. And that's what I'm doing as mayor of the city of Chicago. Thank you.
Now, I disagree with Brandon Johnson on everything. I think his answer failed to address the true question the guy was asking about illegal immigrants because they shouldn't be here. I get that. But there is something about Brandon Johnson. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. There's something. I don't agree with this guy on a thing when it comes to policy. But at least I don't think so as the way that he's expressed policy. But there is something about this man that I deeply admire. He is unflappable. He has the same tone. Look, if somebody's asking me questions and they're hostile, it takes all I can do to contain myself from coming right back at them and telling them, whatever, or having my emotions jump up. This guy, when people are yelling at him, when people are screaming at him, and he has the same tone of voice, the same kind of demeanor. When they ask questions that are the gotcha questions, he doesn't and then get angry and he just asks the same kind. He has the same. There's something about that. There's something about the discipline that it takes to be that or appear to be that self-confident that you don't have to freak out when you get questions that could hurt you politically, that you don't get angry when people ask you stuff, that you don't react emotionally to things that other people... There's something about that characteristic that I find... what I'm saying is, I think that there's something more to this guy that I don't know. Whether it's something that he has inside, whether it's some like a spiritual component or a discipline training, there's something about him that's not obvious. And I'm curious as to what it could be. Because the guy is truly unflappable. And I don't agree with him with anything, but I just find him such an interesting character. He's unflappable. The Trogs recorded this one in 1966 on this day. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. We'll be back. Do not go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Snerdley.
It's the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush. Now here's James Golden.
Well, my friends, on this day in 1984, Marvin Gaye was shot dead by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., at the family home in Los Angeles. The argument started after his parents started arguing over some business documents. Marvin tried to intervene. Dad got pissed, killed him. Marvin Sr. sentenced to 6 years of probation. Pled guilty to manslaughter. Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. So great, most people, when you just say Marvin in connection with music, they know you're talking about Marvin. And Marvin Gaye, a remarkable musician, a remarkable singer, vocalist, and composer. Marvin Gaye changed the game with the What's Going On album for the entire music industry. It was the first real concept album of the era, and it changed everything. And the story, of course, is about a returning Vietnam veteran. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for you being here, allowing me to be with you. Back tomorrow, God willing. Till then.
This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.